Friday. I hope you've had an amazing Friday. I hope your day and your week is going well. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome to the Creatives Checkup. And for those of you who have been with us for a while, my name is Alan C. Paul. I'm the host and founder of God and Gigs. And this is where we help you to succeed as a creative without sacrificing your faith by connecting the dots between your spiritual life and your creative life. And we do this live stream every Friday to help you solve one specific issue that might be affecting you in your creative life. And so this is really cool. I love to see and make sure that our technical stuff is working before I go live, or before I start the presentation, I should say. I see we have a couple of folks joining us already. So let me take a look and let me know by a click, a comment, a heart, any of those other kind of little cool things, just to let me know that you are getting my audio, that the video is working okay. All that stuff helps. And of course, that also helps our engagement when you actually respond. This is definitely going to be a two-way conversation today, because we're going to be talking about some not heavy topics, but some like real life topics that I want to be very sensitive about and very, down the middle. I don't want to present my opinion. I just want to share how I look at it. I should say I do want to share my opinion, but I don't want to share it as if it's like gospel or dogmatic. Just how I approach certain things. I'd love to hear from you. So that combination of back and forth will help me a lot. I see Pamela is with us. Hello, Pamela. Always a blessing to see you, my dear friend, a member of God and Gigs 360 Gold, incredible creative coach, or a career coach, and a creative at that. So I love to have Pamela in the building. Thank you so much for joining me and letting me know that I can be heard. That means a lot. Trust me. It totally calms me down when I know the technical stuff is working. All right. Well, let's jump right into what we're going to be sharing today. Make that a little bigger so you guys can see it, but also see me. Let's see which one's better. I think that's better. Yeah, so you guys can read it. So today we're going to go through our news and notes, and we're going to talk about our coming up workshop. You're going to see this a lot today because this is super, super, super exciting that we're going to be doing this workshop with my friend Marlita Hill. You will talk about that, and also the Your Art God's Heart Challenge, which is ongoing, and how that's going, and I'll also share a little bit what's going on in 360 Gold. It's just the membership is going bananas. It is. I mean, when I tell you, like, I am like, I can't keep up with everything that's happening with our members in God and Gigs 360. It's just super, super exciting. Then we're going to get into our vital signs, and that's our topic of today. Again, we're going to talk about authenticity, how much is too much to share, personal branding, personal information, whether things are going in the right direction when it comes to your sharing and your promotion. We're not going to jump on anybody's toes or anybody's case. If you know what I'm talking about, we're going to be very, very, very sensitive and never try to cast judgment, but we are going to talk about how it affects our lives. Then we're going to get into our lab work, which is our Podfest recap. Last week, I had the amazing opportunity to share with about 1,000 of overall attendees. I guess you could say we were all there. Podcasters and fellow podcasters. And so we're going to talk about the lessons I learned and what worked and what's next in terms of that area. Then we're going to get into our consult. In the consult, we're going to get into this another controversial topic. And that's what happened last week. It's crazy all this happened in 1 week. Jeez. Like, we went from, TikTok shutting down, and we had all the issues with sadly, the fires. And so this has been a crazy month, right? So we're going to get into whether we learned a lesson from TikTok, because that was, a crazy weekend, and whether creators should be reacting differently now just because TikTok's back. Should we change our tune, or is everything's hunky-dory now with TikTok? We're going to talk about that. And finally, we'll get back into our prescriptions, which is what we expect and ask you to do next. And that's where we'll talk about the creative workshop again. So quickly, going into our new creative connections, I want to say once again, she might have missed it last time. So once again, welcome Jocelyn to 360 Gold. She's our newest creative mastermind member. This is our group that Pamela is a part of, that Simony and Charmaine are also a part of. This is our high character creative mastermind. This is where people jump in and get that day to day, week to week, month to month creative encouragement, coaching, and training. We call it the ACTS: accountability, community, training, and support. They get all three of those, all four of those in the mastermind. So Jocelyn is now a member. So good to have you there. And I know she's already been talking to me. We've been emailing back and forth about how we can really help her move forward in her creative life. And like I just told you, it's really crazy how on fire this group is. Like, Simone just went live like an hour ago to present her new demo of her song that she just wrote and is releasing and sharing and getting ready to kind of like push it out into the world. So Simone is a perfect example of right here what she was stated about, was that she was in a creative rut, and she's now our ambassador to God and Gigs 360 Gold. And so it's just so gratifying. Charmaine's out here just making bomb branding stuff for her new trumpet album that she's going to be working on soon. So when I tell you, this is a place to be. Like, if you want to get something done in 2025, I'm just going to tell you, it is like the whole group is on fire. So I really suggest, if you want to get serious about your creative career, especially by maintaining your faith and getting around people who understand what you believe, but also want to work in excellence, go ahead and go to godandgifts.com/membership. You'll see the link for the gold membership, the monthly gold membership. You want to jump into that because this has been absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, real quick, Pamela, I don't know if you saw this, but this is super cool. Like, the features in God and Gigs 360 Gold are getting more and more cool every time. So now in 360 Gold, and really all of 360, by the way, we have two levels. We have Gold and we have Guest. So 360 Guests get to hang out, and usually they bought one thing. They bought one course, one challenge, and now they're in the community. But the weekly and the monthly coaching, live coaching and accountability, that goes in with the Gold program. The Guest program, you get to hang out in the forums and discuss, and you can, you basically can stay the rest of the time for free. There's no extra charge, but of course, we invite you to go deeper. So the new features are this new streak thing. You guys see this? So now it tracks you. If you check in every day, you can build up a streak, and it's just nice to have like a nice little reward at the end to see if you can go 7 days straight. Check in, share something, check in, watch a video, check in, tell everybody what you're working on, check in for the prayer chat. And so this is really like our hub and our home for creative community and God and Gigs. It's so cool. Like, it's getting upgrades. It's like getting an upgrade in your house. So now you get to track and see how much you've been active. So once again, if you want to join us over there, godandgigs.com/membership. Okay. godandgigs.com/membership. You'll see the both options. There is an option for $10 a month that gets you access to our workshops and things like that. But this is for the, actually for everything, but definitely for Gold is a highly, highly recommended way to do that. Okay. All right. And as mentioned, recommended resources, we also recommend that you get into our toolkit, especially at the beginning of the year. There's lots of deals, lots of annual deals, and you can get into these software solutions, including StreamYard, which I'm using right now. So if you want to have like a cool live stream backdrop like this, a lot of these ideas I got straight from our friend LaShonda Brown. So she's on StreamYard. I was like, let me get on StreamYard. So now I have a link for StreamYard in my kit. I have a link to Relay, my bank that I use for my business banking, on the toolkit. Skip, which has been crazy cool, getting opportunities for grants. I'm just applying to another $10,000 grant today. I'm going to finish my application for that. So all of those are at godandgigs.com/toolkit. And finally, our upcoming events. You can see right now we're currently in our 21-day devotional challenge. That's going to end on, next Friday. So hopefully, if you have been joining us, you're reading along. If you haven't, and you still want to jump in, there's still time to jump in. You can start from the beginning, or you can jump in for our devotional challenge. Then our monthly mastermind meetup, or bi-weekly meetup, will be on Monday. Pamela, you'll be there for that. Hopefully, Jocelyn, you'll also hopefully be there for that. And everybody else is in Gold. And then the 28th, here's the big one. I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead because this is what I really want to talk about. And that is the Call of the Creative, how to embrace God's artistic assignment for your life. This is with one of our most amazing friends and colleagues and collaborators in the Christian creative space. Marlita Hill, when I tell you, if you want to really get to know what God is saying through your creative life, get to know Marlita Hill. And the way you can do that is by joining us in our workshop, godandgigs.com/Jan-workshop, and go ahead and sign up for that and get access. It's a $10 ticket. And here's why it's $10, because this is not the kind of information you can get just from Google or from ChatGPT. The stuff we're going to be digging into is really hand-picked information on how to identify what God is saying to you next. And you might say, how do you know? Well, Marlita's got 25 years of experience following God as a choreographer, has written an incredible book, which I think is honestly, my book is just for musicians. Her book is like the clarion call to creatives on how to follow God into your passion. So if you are serious about this year, I'm not going to sit back. This year, I'm not going to sit around. This year, God has been kind of nudging me and pulling at me, and I don't know what to do next. This is the workshop you need to go to. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, $10. Those who are God and Gigs 360 Gold members get in for free, and also our Creative Resource members as well. You are already members, so you can get in, okay? But everybody else, you need to go ahead and get that ticket at godandgigs.com/January workshop. I'll make sure there's a link down here. And also, as I mentioned, the Your Heart, God's Heart Challenge is still going on. You can jump out, okay? Let me see. Let me go over here. Yes, I've been on the app every day. I missed the streak. I don't know if it's on every single. I don't know if it's on every single app yet. I see it on mine, so I went ahead and pointed it out. It might be that they're rolling it out slowly, but check whenever you check in. If when you just there's this little thing up here. I don't know if I can make it bigger on my screen. There's this little star. That's what I clicked on. I clicked on the star. It might be different on the phone app. So just check that out, Pamela. But it should be coming out. New features are rolling out to all these different phones. Manuel is here and Skip is giving one. That's right. Right after this live stream at 3:00, Skip gives out $1,000 at least once or twice, or maybe 3 times for their people who have signed up. And I'm a member of it. It's addictive. Just watching the spinning wheel is like going to a game show. And every day they give out $1,000 to some business owner. I'm sorry, not every day. Tuesdays and Fridays, they give away about $3,000, $4,000. And it's just incredible that they're supporting small businesses and creatives and entrepreneurs like us. So yeah, let me see. Is there a link for this and her book? I think you're talking about Marlita. Yes, there's a link to this, godandgigs.com. I knew I should have made, again, you guys know about me and my banners. I always forget to make banners beforehand. So I'm just going to put it here in the comments. So yes, godandgigs.com/Jan-workshop. Okay. So that's how you get to this particular thing. Okay. godandgigs.com/Jan-workshop. Okay. And then if you want to get her book, you want to go to probably marlitahill.com, or just look up her Defying Discord. Defying, like defy. Defying Discord is the name of her book. But you could probably find it as well at Amazon. Okay? Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Emmanuel, you're going to love this workshop, man. This is right up your alley, talking about the Holy Spirit, how it calls us to be creatives. Marlita is the truth. I am so glad that she's going to be joining me. And she's also, by the way, I did a repost of our episode 319, godandgigs.com/319. You can hear our interview with her, where she basically kind of goes into it's almost like the beginning of this whole journey for her. And she talks about how she found her calling in God as a choreographer, a dancer, and an author. So definitely jump into that. It's kind of like a good precursor to get into that. All right, we got to get into what we're talking about today, though. So, boy, this is going to be hard. Lord, in the name of Jesus, Lord, give me strength and the ability and discernment to speak truth, but also speak it in love when we adopt or discuss this topic. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, because I really want to be sensitive about this. So if you do not know what this is talking about, what we're talking about is the fact that a certain artist gave a certain tweet. All right. So this is where I have to be super careful. I know I need to give you context, but I don't want to give you context in the terms of trying to either inflate this comment or be what you call salacious. None of that. But basically, the comment was from a young lady, artist named Kiera Sheard Kelly. So Kiera Sheard Kelly is well known in the gospel industry. She is the daughter of Karen Clark Sheard, who is another legend in the gospel industry. And I am going to try, as much as I don't want to do this, I am going to try to at least pull up some kind of context where you guys can see, because she might have taken this tweet down just because of all the firestorm and all the stuff that happened after it. But basically, if I could give you kind of like the background of it, she basically got married a few years ago, had a baby, and she's, she has a wonderful family and enjoying her family. And she basically tweeted as much that she's enjoying her family and said it in a very, very kind of what people are saying is a very risque way, that she is extremely happy with her husband and her children having been, and she used the word, and I say weird again, because I was like, I'm learning, okay, how do I say it? But I'm just going to say what she said, and I'll just kind of try not to get, myself in trouble, right? But she used the word guts. And so you can go into whatever thought process you want with what guts meant. So I am now looking at this and the firestorm of commentary. And you know what, it probably might be better for me, instead of bringing up her comment, it might be better for me to bring up some of the comments versus me talking about it and trying to comment on what I think or all that kind of stuff. It's probably better that I just read a little bit or maybe show what other people are saying, and I'll let that be your introduction to it so that I am not trying to like share stuff. So let's go over here, share screen. And let's do this. Let me go to Facebook. So here are the comments and the issues that are bringing up all of this information. Okay, and again, I'm not sharing this because I have any way. I don't want clickbait. I don't want any of that. Okay, and so Real Mike Media here. Y'all think she went too far, or are people too sensitive? Okay, so all of this is over, again, a phrase and a comment that people feel went too far, was either inappropriate, not Christian-like, all those things. And so here's why I think we have to discuss this. The reason I think we have to discuss this is because, number one, this is a faith-based Christian organization that I run, that we are telling creatives how to operate in the mainstream without sacrificing your faith. So it's literally what this podcast, this platform is about. Two, this is very clearly something that got a lot of people upset on both sides. A lot of people on one side are saying, oh, this is why people do not want to be around Christians. This is why people feel like we are too holy roller, that a married woman cannot even make a funny statement about being with her husband and being happy with her husband and their relationship, right? And then there's the people who are saying, no, Christians should be above board when it comes to the way they operate on social media, the way they talk on social media, the phrases they use. This is where we have to draw the line and say that certain words are too far, that the coarse jesting and certain like things are not becoming for a Christian in the mainstream or even in gospel. In this case, it's really gospel because she's very much a worship leader, right? So here's where it comes back to us. And I'm going to ask the question because I do not want to give an answer. I want to hear from you. Is there a line, first, between what a faith-focused Christian creative should share in their personal life? This is, again, we're not talking about something that's not, allowed. It's married people talking about married things, but it's also in public. So is it the way people say it? Is it what people say? Are there certain boundaries that we should have where we don't go to being what we call too authentic or too open about what we share? Or should we be more lenient and more understanding that in a social media world, people should not be as judgmental about people sharing what is going on in their lives, because we always say we want people to be open and honest. And then some people are saying we criticize them when they're open and share things that are really happening in their lives. And they say it in a certain way that we disapprove of, and then we crucify them on social media. So as you can see, I want to know what you think about this more than I want to give you my opinion. My opinion, honestly, is only going to be based on how I operate. Okay? So when I talk about this, I am not saying all Christian creatives should do X. All people who post on social media should do X. You all must not follow this particular example because blank. Like, I am not going to say that, because I do believe very clearly in God and gigs that God leads each one of us in a specific way to a specific purpose and to speak to a specific audience. So there's certain ways that we have to operate if I am operating in one area, and I might change it if I'm in another area. So I think this is a hugely important thing to discuss before we get into the conversation, that different people will have different answers. And I believe both of them could be correct. Okay? I believe both people who say this was too far could be correct. And I believe in other situations, the people who say this is a bad example of people canceling and being very judgmental, and that being the problem. So there's where we're going to go. So let's look at this. Pamela, thank you for jumping in right away and sharing, because this is definitely a dialogue. I think it was in jest and harmless, but celebrity or not, we have to be careful about what we post and remember that we can't separate the name from the brand. With the praise comes criticism. Well said. And I love what now I want to kind of just parse this for a second so I can make sure you are being heard. We have to be careful about what we post and remember that we can't separate the name from the brand. So I hear you there in terms of, once your name is attached to a certain kind of approach. And again, I followed Kiera from when she was first singing on her mom's album. So I've not like followed her brand. So I honestly cannot tell you whether her brand is, in terms of married, in terms of what she shares about being married. I don't know if this is on brand or not, to be honest with you. And that's what I think is interesting. I don't know if this one phrase is like her going way off kilter with her approach to how she talks about her husband and her wife and her marriage, or if this is right on point with what she shared before, and this is the first time that somebody took offense. So I don't even know if this is on brand for her. And to that being said, I don't know if this is criticism from people who don't know her brand, who don't know that she is very open about how she expresses herself and how she uses certain phrases and how certain terms that they might disagree with, but maybe her audience has been good with this for years, and this is the way she has come to becoming who she is, and the phraseology has never bothered them before, and now people or outside her brand are like, no, it's not good. So I don't honestly know if she needs to separate the name from the brand, because maybe this is not a situation that she's worried about. I haven't heard her statement on it, but I think it's very interesting that that the backlash has been both sides, where people are saying she's married, this is the way she talks, this is fine, which implies to me that people were not surprised on one end. All right, LaShonda is checking in. Thank you so much, LaShonda, our ECE. If you don't know what the ECE is, that is Established Creative Expert. She is expert in all things YouTube and all things Canva and all things small business and entrepreneurship. So I think regardless of faith, we should always think about what our audience is supposed to gain from what we share. What was our takeaway supposed to be with this post? Just a thought. That is another great point, that everything we share is generally, I'm being very careful here, generally supposed to be moving toward a object, a goal, something to share, encouragement. So usually, right, I think Shauna, you would agree with this. It's usually entertainment, inspiration, or education, right? Those are the three things we usually share for posts. And then, of course, here's the fourth one, which I think this falls into, is the personal, I just feel like saying something, and it's more like just sharing, right? So I don't know what she felt our takeaway would be. I can tell you that I feel like it definitely goes into that entertainment area. And she is letting everyone know, as a wife and as a mother, this is what's happened. Now, here's what's interesting about this. I shared this very same meme, not the one that she said. Somebody else has been posting this on Instagram for a while, and it's the same ethos, the same comments. And again, ladies, help me out because I'm being very careful here. A lot of ladies I saw posting the same type of comment about the entire family, right? The entire family has been blank. And again, I'm being super sensitive. So I think it's just, again, interesting that this specific person said something similar to some other memes, and it was an issue because, like you just said, maybe the assumption is her takeaways, her expression is supposed to be a certain direction, edifying of this, or in certain ways. Again, I am not speaking for everybody who reads it because I am not the person saying, hey, this was wrong or this was off. I'm saying this is a key indication that we are not together when it comes to our, I guess, in terms of Christian creative life and gospel and the church. We clearly still have issues with the way we show up on social media. And here's why I think it's very interesting to all of us. I think Pamela said it, we are opening ourselves to criticism. And so it does define the way we speak when we see other people who are brought down for the way they speak. So the way I approach things might be different than the way she approaches it, but I'm going to be watching how this goes down and deciding if this is even my audience, one. Two, if this is something that I need to be aware of in the way I share things. Three, in the way that I help other people share things, because some people will not share at all because they get scared of that. Let me see. Thank you, Manuel. We must learn from me. Let's not say I think it's what you meant. We must learn from me. We must learn for me. I gotcha. Is the word balance? Are we just copying or being authentic? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, we must learn. For me, it's the word balance. Are we just copying or being authentic in our calling? That's good. Okay, I see. I apologize. I messed it up a little bit. I see what you're saying. Are we just copying? Again, I can't judge anyone. The Bible says judge no man, okay? You're judged not that you not be judged. I have been judged, and I'll be very transparent now. I have been judged on what I posted very clearly in terms of my own leadership and my own spiritual covering. I've had to face this, and I've had to have that same conversation with what's okay in my house and what's okay with my wife wasn't okay with somebody else. And it was a hard lesson. I did not like dealing with that. I did not like being called on the carpet. But let me be clear. I was called on the carpet privately by my spiritual leadership. So I think that's another thing where I think might be very, very important to share. I think, LaShonda, you said it, her takeaway, we don't understand what her takeaway was, but there's another question, which is her spiritual leadership okay with it? Is her spiritual leadership, which is honestly her husband, is that being honored? Or are other people stepping in saying, we don't think it's okay, therefore it's not okay, when under spiritual authority and spiritual leadership, maybe, I'm just saying maybe, there was somebody else that said, we're good. And that is where I think we need to be super understanding that the entire argument comes down to me, personally speaking, what is expedient for the person and the audience and the people that you are reaching. And like you said, the takeaway. I don't think you could say there's a takeaway in the same way that you would say there's a takeaway from a scripture verse. But there is a takeaway that someone is saying that this is where I'm comfortable speaking, and this is how I speak, and this is how I talk. And this is where I, obviously, again, unless she's taking it down, feels this is like just way too much. I'm sure there's a response somewhere. But I feel this is a great indication of how you need to know yourself. You need to know why you speak, what you say on social, and be very, very clear that you are ready for both the negatives and the positives when it comes to this. And here's why I think I will lean at this side. At this point, I will lean on this discussion of how we respond, less on what was said, more on how we respond. I do think this is one of those cases where there's less people who will say, thank you for calling it out, and more people who will say, here's why I don't feel comfortable around Christians and people like that. Because when you see what we get riled up about and why we get riled up about it, people on the outside might say, I don't understand. And they might say, okay, like I said, God and Gigs, this is where someone could say to me, I don't understand how you could play that song and then serve and worship the next day. How could you play that song that had that lyric? How could you do this? And I'm very familiar with that argument, because this is literally why I started the platform, because I don't believe that qualifies, in this case, a tweet, in other cases, a song qualifies as the spiritual barometer of whether I am following God or not, is what came out of my lips the next day or whatever. Pamela says, that's a valid point. Some people test the waters to see what the response will be. That's true. Again, I can't judge anybody's faith or heart. We can see what the reaction is. And like I said, I got called out. So I know what it feels like to get called out. I do know what it feels like to get called out. It's not fun. And now like years later, and this is being very personal, years later, I agree with the person who called me out. I'm still at the same time remembering how I personally inside my home had to kind of reconcile that there were two different standards, that there was my standard and the standard in my home, and then there was a different standard outside my home, and I had to abide by another standard at that time that did not fit necessarily the standard that I had set and that my wife had set, which again, you need to be on the side of erring on the leadership of your home and the leadership of your church and the leadership that people are holding you to. You're going to be held accountable. And here's the thing I think is very important. Oh, really? Manuel, wow. Okay. See, okay. I'm glad you said that, because I'm glad I'm not alone in that. So I'm not the only one that ever got called out. So here's what I'm saying. I don't know if we can come to it. You know what? We need to continue this conversation, number one. So if you are following me on social, obviously in the Facebook group, let's continue this conversation, because I don't want to get stuck on this. I would love to talk about this the entire time. I think this is one of those things that we have to have continual discussion about, because it's not a one and done. So we need to talk about this in 360 Gold. So Pamela, remind me on the 360 member call that we need to bring this up again, and we need to go deeper and talk about, like, how do we actually parse out, when do we go too far? Is it too far to share? I'll be perfectly honest. There are some podcasts I haven't released yet because I'm worried about the same response. Not in terms of the same topic, but the same response about that's not Christian. I am very concerned all the time about whether I can post certain things about certain gigs, because I feel like I'm going to get called out, because so am I circumspect? Am I following Paul? Yes. Paul said that if your brother is weak, don't eat meat in front of them. If your brother is weak, then do not cause him to stumble. And clearly, and this is going to be very, 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 it's going to sound very judgmental, but I'm just going to go by the scripture. We got some weak people around us. We have some weak Christians. So because we have weak Christians around us, we have to be more careful. Okay? I said it. And I think I can stand on this one. Because we have weak Christians, we have to be more careful. I hate that, though, because what it causes is this kind of a little bit of a line of inauthenticity that people sense. So when you do step over the line and they see how we react, they're like, oh, not only are they scared to talk about certain things, but when we know who they are and they have to present a different face, now we know that somebody else is calling the shots. And that is not a good way to show up in the world. Paul said, I'll be all things to all people that I might win some. We get to choose our sum. Lecrae's sum is not my sum. Kiera's sum is not my sum. I am being all things to all people that I might win some. So my some might cause me to use different language than your some. And if you're trying to reach your churchy some, you probably shouldn't say this. But if you're trying to reach other people, again, I'm not saying she is or isn't. So this is why, again, this is not about her statement. This is about us. What are you going to do? What are you going to say? What are you going to share? And how are you going to share it so that you can find your sum and win your sum? Because if you don't know what your sum is, your language is never going to match that. And you're going to find yourself changing things for the wrong sum. Okay? So don't change your language for the wrong sum. Now, if you got the sum that you know good and well that you cannot say certain things, then change your language, change your verbiage. Do not go out here and make people stumble because that's not your sum. But for some of us, we have different sums. And I am going to reach those people with the language and with the knowledge and with the post and with the things that will help them see me as who I am so that I do not then cause them to stumble. Yes, and people will try to cancel you in a minute. I have another scam before discussion possibly that I'll share in the community. Yes, I want to hear this. I'm so excited. Okay, I cannot wait for Monday. Monday's going to be the bomb. Monday's going to be the bomb. That's why y'all got to join the membership. Okay. All right. I really don't want to talk about this particular thing because I feel so much conviction and I don't want to talk about other people and their issues. As I just said, we let other people be judged by God, not by us. But the comment around it is all about, again, how do we do better? Okay, so thank y'all for letting me jump into that without feeling too awkward. All right, podcast recap, Podfest recap. I am so excited. LaShonda, if you're still here, I think you know the brother in the middle. We kind of look like brothers there. The shadow kind of messed it up. But I got to speak last week at Podfest Podfest Expo, which is a podcasting convention, the longest running podcast convention for independent style podcasters, probably one of the big ones. Okay, so I have a whole story. I have a story. All right, I gotta put this up. I have a whole story. Okay, wait for a second. Okay. So I have some other. Oh God, I have so much to share. Jeez, I gotta slow down. All right. So the long story short is 3 days of podcasters coming together, sharing about podcasting, sharing about content creation. And the reason that we're mentioning Roberto Blake is because also content creation in YouTube. So I was actually presenting on video and audio, how I help people or how I personally do both video and audio podcasts without doubling my workload. So that was my topic and my speech. I did one 30-minute session. There were hundreds of sessions throughout the 3 days. We couldn't attend all of them. So I really felt like, number one, my takeaway was really honing in on how can I help people. My first speaking topic was rejected or I didn't get through. And the second time I did the video one because they asked who can talk about video. You guys know LaShonda is my YouTube coach. She knows how much work I've done on getting more comfortable with YouTube. So the fact that I've just been able to get 1,000 subscribers on 3 different channels, all of them starting under 1,000 and building up 3 different channels to 1,000 clearly shows that I'm at least learning something. And so now I am trying to share that with other people, but that was not my wheelhouse and it is not my wheelhouse. So the first thing I would say is how to make the most of a conference is make sure that you are leaning into the area that you really need to learn about and lean into. This was the area that I did not feel most comfortable with, and so it was the area that I did the most work on. It's the area I did the most discussion on. I'm not big on, I told my presentation, which was, again, incredibly standing room only. 95 people signed up, and they had to turn people away from the room. Clearly, I hit a part of the ethos of that conference that needed to be addressed, or else so many people would not have been interested in it. So that was the first thing I learned about the most of a conference is making sure you lean into whatever. You can't go to everything. I couldn't go to everything, but I leaned into the thing that was most important, which was how are people responding to this specific comment? And secondly on that was following up with every single person that attended the conference. I went on the app. I followed them all. I made sure those connections were solid. And I said, hey, if I can follow up with you, let me know how else I can help. So none of these were just one and done, pass a note, a business card or a note card. I would love to know, by the way, with a one in the comments, who has attended a conference in your niche? Who has attended a conference? Put a one if you've attended a conference in your niche. Where that could be a church conference, could be a business conference, could be a coaching conference or a business conference, like whatever. If you have attended a conference anytime in your career, just put a one so I know I'm not talking only to people who have been to conferences before. Maybe you haven't. So put a one if you've gone to a conference before and a two if you have not, if you've never been to a conference. Okay, so that was the first thing that I really figured out. Now, what really stood out with me, and this is where the Roberto connection comes in, is that I figured out that it was not about me meeting a million people. I oftentimes, there's actually a really cool Podfest tradition of doing like what's almost like a speed dating, speed networking, and you can meet like 70 people in an hour, and everybody's passing business cards, and it's like amazing, amazing, amazing. So normally I go to that. I've gone to that every year. I've done this like 5 years. I've spoken 3 times. This is my 4th time speaking, I should say. 2 virtual, 2 in person. And then I've always gone to the speed networking. This time, I decided not to go to the speed networking. And why is that? Because I decided this time I was going to be more intentional about long conversations and staying connected with just a few people, meeting a few key people, and not trying to meet everybody. This was a huge game changer for me this year because, as you can see, Roberto Blake is a hugely influential content creator. I got to invite my son. My son is over here on the, let's put the bigger so you guys can see it. So my son, you can see me look like twins. Actually, I did meet someone that looks literally like my twin. So this is my son on the right. I think your left. And then, yeah, on everybody's right. And I'm on the left there, and Roberto was in the middle. This was after his keynote speech, which was an incredible speech that he shared about really how anyone can become a content creator and make money up from $5,000 to $10,000. And he just spelled it out. Like, this is how you do it. This is how you make a middle class income, a working class, sustainable income as a content creator. Do blank, 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 blank. And he just laid it out. So I think what's interesting is that I got a chance to hang out, wait for him to speak again, and my son came up to talk to him. Now, this is what's crazy. As soon as my son talked to him, he's like, I've been following you since, he named some movie. These guys went into it about some sci-fi topic. I had never heard of this. These guys were immediately nerding out. Like, instantly they were nerding out. So he's talking to Chris like they're good friends. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just... So I was the awkward third wheel. I introduced him to my son. And my son is like, they're like, oh man, we're gonna stay in touch. He's rapping his eye, like, so they clearly had way more in common than I did. But just the fact that my son got to meet someone that he's admired for years, has followed, and and now my son is out here doing more content creation and doing more music and stuff. And I just feel like that was like an amazing moment. He's like, it's a full circle moment for him because this was in Orlando. My son went to University of Central Florida for graphic design and was following Roberto Blake back then. So this was really, really cool for me. And that conversation was worth, all the other conversations. It doesn't even matter if I get connected with Roberto. What matters is my son now has that memory of having that long conversation about this cool sci-fi movie that I'd never heard of that Roberto and him were both fans of. So it's all about those deeper connections, making those deeper connections instead of trying to like machine gun a million connections that are probably not going to be memorable. Let's just be honest. Like a lot of times when you go to conferences, you meet a million people and like 3 of them you might remember. You might call them back. You might make a connection with. So this was my big thing about how to make the most of a conference. Don't try to meet everybody. Meet a few people. Make deeper connections. I hung out with some of my friends. I got to meet the representative from Focus on the Family. He wants to connect with really wanting to know my opinion on a certain podcast. That's huge. Like he wants my opinion. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, like a deeper conversation in all these areas. So my first takeaway was leaning in to a new area, just making sure that this is what people really want to know about and what I should learn about. And it's not necessarily, the thing I'm most comfortable in. I moved myself into the area I was not as comfortable in, and it paid off. Following up with people and then making longer, deeper conversations and connections was a key element. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll share some more of that on my social as well. If you want to find out more about Podfest, eventually my presentation will be shared. I will share that inside the membership. So those of you who want to see my actual presentation, I will have access to my own presentation. So you'll get a chance to see it if you're in the membership. So that would be cool. And now finally, did we learn our lesson from TikTok? Okay, this was the big news just a week ago. It's crazy. It feels like it was months ago. Just a week ago, we were all going crazy about whether TikTok would be canceled or banned. And within a day, within 24 hours, we all heard the news that it was the banning was suspended or back and forth. I just feel like a lot of government stuff right now for creatives is just like going like crazy. Because first we had the entrepreneur thing with the BOI requirement. You guys remember that? A lot of you guys joined Skip to get into the BOI and get your reports in. And then they're like, it's not required. So I hope you didn't spend any money on that. Skip was free. I hope you use Skip, and that you didn't use some $400 fee to apply that and then find out that it wasn't necessary. That would be horrible. So TikTok left, and came back. So did we learn a lesson? Did you personally find yourself I know we don't have a lot of TikTok members. I found that out in the membership. It was very clear that you guys are not following TikTok like that. However, I am curious on whether you're now more suspicious of these kind of platforms. Are you more concerned and more? We're on platforms right now. We're on Facebook right now. We're on YouTube right now. We're on LinkedIn right now. So are you more concerned or more wary of social media? Are you building your email list? Did you see these creators who were struggling and like, oh my God, did you see them? And did you say, all right, that's not going to be me? Because here's the thing. Again, we're literally on these platforms right now. But if we weren't, and I had to host my own video, it'd be expensive. But if I had to, I could. We could use Zoom, and I could still do this very well through Zoom and simply send you guys the link. StreamYard itself, I could just send you guys to StreamYard. LaShonda knows what I'm talking about. Like we could just use StreamYard. You guys could like check into StreamYard. So I am not dependent on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn to reach you, especially if you're on my email list, right? If you have joined my email list, gottageeks.com/info, which I should probably pop up right now, just to make sure you guys can see it, and then you can join it. Where's the info? Of course, once again, I don't have it when I look for it. It's missing. All right, we're going to get all these banners straight because these are driving me crazy. Anyway, gottageeks.com/info. So, I hope you guys are all now really, really, really making sure you have your email list. So that's my question to you. Did you change anything after TikTok went down? Did you get more serious about your email list? Did you see other creators that maybe you are not on TikTok, but did you see other creators like floundering and freaking out? And did you say, oh, that's not going to be me. I'm going to get my email list together. I'm going to go to Kit, gottageeks.com/Kit. I'm going to get my emails together, and I'm going to make sure that I'm never stuck like these folks look like they're going to be stuck before it was removed. So I'm going to wait for a little bit while. I'm going to go into prescriptions, but I will come back to this if you guys have a comment on that, or share it in the comments below. But obviously you can kind of tell where I'm going with this. I believe all of us should have learned our lesson. We all should get on our email list, building email lists, text messages if you need to, getting phone numbers, have a connection that's not based on your TikTok or your social media presence. And by the way, as I say that, I am saying this literally as I'm looking at you on a social media platform, understanding that there are places where social media is necessary. But let's take it as an amplifier. You guys know what an amplifier is, right? Musical, okay? We're talking about music, so I'm going to share an amplifier concept. The amplifier itself does not actually create the sound. An amplifier simply amplifies what's already there. Social media is an amplifier. You should already have your guitar, your trumpet, whatever that creates sound by itself. It does what it does without any necessary. Now, of course, you realize that you can only make so much sound by yourself. You can only get your guitar to be so loud by itself, but it does play by itself. You can do a guitar by itself. The amplifier then amplifies that signal, gets you to more people to be heard. However, if your amplifier breaks and you just need to call everybody and get a little closer to the guitar, you can still be heard. This is the point about social media. It's an amplifier. You should not be relying on your amplifier to make your sound, and then when your amplifier dies, you have no sound. That's not the way this should work. You should be using social media as your amplifier so that you can reach more people with the message that you've already honed, and then when they come closer, they don't need the amplifier anymore to hear you. They're right next to you. They can hear you themselves. I hope that analogy makes sense. I hope it helps you. And then, again, if you're one of those people who got stuck worrying about whether or not social media was going to go down in terms of not just TikTok, Facebook has had major issues recently. Instagram had like 2 or 3 outages in a row. No social media platform is immune to being hacked, to going down. So this is why, even right now, I'm going to ask you, go to godandgifts.com/info, sign up for our email list so that you will never get lost in the sauce if Facebook goes down, if I cannot reach you through YouTube or any of these other things. You've got a way to reach us right here. And this is our direct connection to our Creative Checkup newsletter. All right. We're right on time, it seems. Let's go ahead to finish up to our prescriptions. And once again, I hope that you would all follow the podcast. Please go to godandgifts.com/podcast. You can see our latest interview with Marlita Hill, which again is a repost, but it's so powerful. As a matter of fact, someone just posted. Let me see what she said. I think it was Atania. I can never say her name right. But yeah, she posted and gave a comment just a little while ago. I'm wondering, no, I probably can't show the comment because, oh, wait, yes, I can, because I'm not going to the live stream. We're not going. If I was going to the live stream, it would be like you'd be seeing 2 things at the same time, or you'd be doubling. I don't want you guys to see the same thing, but we can go here. Let me see if I can find this comment. Comments. Here it is. She said, let's see. Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it up. I think I can pull it up. Give me 1 second. Share screen. And yeah, what she said right here. This was so packed with encouragement and beautiful stories of faith. Marlita was so funny, and I definitely sympathized with her words. Great episode. So yes, and Atania is also a member of God and Gigs 360 as a guest. And over here, he said, this was fantastic. Hearing about Marlita's journey and process inspired me to reflect on mine. So yeah, like people are still checking out Marlita's interview. So I would highly recommend you check it out as well. It goes right in Facebook. On YouTube. Simply go to our channel. It's going to be right there at the top. And it is called, Is God Calling You to Be a Creative? Okay. So you can go check that out. But then after that, go ahead and sign up for our Call of the Creative workshop on on Tuesday. Okay. All you got to do is go to godandgigs.com/Jan workshop. godandgigs.com/Jan-workshop. Okay. Make sure the dash is there. I just want to make sure it was clear that how to say and how to spell it. So Jan-workshop. Okay. And you can get in. And again, $10 for any of you who are not members of 360 Gold. 360 Gold members, Pamela, you do not need to sign up. Obviously, Lashonda, you're also a gold member. You do not need to sign up. I will send you the link directly. Okay, so all the gold members, you do not have to sign up. You will join us with Marlita. You will get a replay if you sign up. You do not have to worry if you cannot come at 1 o'clock. I am very much aware. I am the same way. I have office hours at my church that I've had to kind of work around to be at 1 o'clock sessions. So very often I can't do them, but I like to watch the replay later. So this is also available for you if you sign up for the Call of the Creative and want to watch it later. Go ahead and get your $10 ticket, and that way I can send you access to this when it goes live. Me and Marlita, again, we've had so many amazing conversations I wish you could hear. So this is going to be a direct call to you on how to embrace this. And I've seen this so many times. So many people are struggling with confidence. And by the way, confidence is given you by God, because he says in his word, this is the confidence we have in God, that if we ask anything in his name, he hears us. So if you're not responding to the call, it's not because God is not doing it. It's because you're not confident, you're not accepting it, and because you're not sure what step to take next, whether you're supposed to take it in ministry or to take it into the marketplace. Ministry or the marketplace are both the same mission, to glorify God and to bring good to the world. So whatever that looks like, you got to make sure you have somebody that's got your back. And that's why we want you to be in this workshop, to hear what Marlita has to say. We're going to have this conversation. It's going to go deeper than we can go in any other format. Even the podcast is kind of limited. So we're going to go deeper than the podcast does. And we're going to share how you can embrace God's artistic assignment and make this the best year ever, for your creative life. Just imagine that in January, you could already be set up for better clarity, more purpose, more monetization, more community, more skill. All of these things we're going to be working through in God and Gates 360. By the way, that's our best year ever right there. Okay. Best year ever is walking through this 1 month at a time. But we start with spiritual alignment. That's where we're at now. All right, my friends, we're right on time. It is 59 minutes in. So we're going to go ahead and start bringing this in for a close. Thank you so much once again to everybody who joined us. Manuel, you are amazing, my brother. I'm so glad you joined us, and I hope to see you on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. It was such a blessing to have Pamela with us. Pamela, you are always amazing. The GOAT, and some people don't like the word GOAT, but when I say greatest of all time, okay, LaShonda Brown was with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. Daniel Nelson, good to see you as well. I saw you jump in. Thank you so much for joining us, Daniel. If you're still watching, thank you for being a part of this. And everybody else that is watching on replay, let me tell you, you are appreciated, like Tupac Shakur said, okay? You are appreciated. I know you all can't come right at 1 p.m. Eastern, but you are a part of this conversation. So please, in the comments, leave your comments about what you think. Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn. Leave your comments. What do you think about what we shared, about the whole situation with what Kiera shared, with the whole situation with what's best for a podcast conference? If you have ideas about what TikTok is doing or whether you should have moved or shifted the way you treat social media because of TikTok. And especially if you have any other questions about being a high character, highly motivated, faith-focused creative in 2025. That's what I would love to help you do. So if you're watching this, please share it. Please like it. Please subscribe to the channel. Many people watch but don't subscribe. I've always thought that's weird. You might as well subscribe so you get notifications. Please let me know that I can be of assistance and continue to support you as you build your best creative life from the inside out. But that has been our creative checkup for the day, guys. This was amazing. This was one of my favorites. Definitely. We got into it, guys. We definitely got into it. So I will see you hopefully on a podcast episode soon, as you can go ahead and sign up for that. And I would love to see all of you at the Call of the Creative, How to Embrace God's Artistic Assignment for Your Life on Tuesday, the 28th. Sign up at godandgifts.com/Dan. It's hard to say. godandgifts.com/Jan-workshop. There we go. All right. God bless you guys. I'll see you next time. And until next time, continue to become the creative that you were created to be. God bless. We'll see you next Friday.